It's been tough, but look, it's definitely going to be worth it.
Every journey has a path you should take. Every story has a plot line to follow. In the story of the Bible, the plot begins with the creation of the world and humanity's fall into brokenness. So, where does the story go from here? What path should we take now? The early chapters of the Bible take us on a non-stop tour through centuries of human history. Although some of the details might be tricky to understand, the big picture is clear. Humanity's brokenness is not going to get any better. If anything, it only seems to get worse. And then, just when it seemed like humanity was destined to be scattered in this broken world forever, God gave one man an amazing path to follow. Out of nowhere, God gave one man a great promise. About a quarter of the way through the book of Genesis, we're introduced to a man named Abram, or Abraham, as he is eventually called. To be honest, Abraham was no different to the people around him. He's a wandering tribesman who lived in what is now Iraq. His family didn't know God. In fact, they worshipped false gods, gods made by people out of wood, metal, and stone. But unlike the people around him, there was something different about Abraham. And it's this. When God spoke to him, he listened and he obeyed.
The Lord had said to Abram, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram went, as the Lord had told him.
From out of nowhere, God called Abraham and gave him an incredible promise of blessing, not curse. As we read on, we discover that this promise was going to feature a special people, a special place, and a special person through whom this blessing would come, one of Abraham's descendants. The Lord was giving Abraham a promise that would turn the curse of sin's brokenness into a great blessing from God. A blessing that would reach people from every tribe and tongue and nation on the earth. And so, Abraham gathered together his family and travelled to this new land, just as God had said. If you live in a town or city, you'll know full well that when you look at the night sky, all you get is empty darkness, with perhaps a few stars here and there. There's so much light pollution everywhere. But if you ever go to a more remote part of the world and look up at the night sky, what you would see would take your breath away.
The unpolluted night sky is literally filled with billions and billions of stars and galaxies. Abraham eventually arrived in the land that God had told him to go to. He and his family lived there, sleeping in tents, moving from place to place. And while he was there, God spoke to Abraham again.
The Lord took him outside and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them, so shall your offspring be."
God had promised that a blessing would come through one of Abraham's descendants. But Abraham was left wondering how on earth this was going to happen. After all, he was old, and his wife Sarah couldn't have kids anymore. He was filled with questions. But God didn't deal with them, at least not to start with. Instead, God took Abraham outside and said, "Look up. Can you see the stars? Can you count them? Billions and billions, Abraham. Well, so will your offspring be. Billions and billions." God didn't explain to Abraham how he was going to keep his promise. He just said he would, again. It's like he was saying to him, "Abraham, know this. You will have a son. And through one of his far-off descendants, billions and billions of people will be blessed forever. So don't you worry." What did Abraham do with this promise? How did he feel? What did he think? Well, we're told he believed. Abraham took God at his word, just as he did when the Lord first spoke to him. And excitingly, in the rest of Abraham's story, we see exactly how he and his family begin to receive this blessing. All because of a God who makes promises, and because of a man who had faith. This story of how God's promised blessing was going to come about is what fills up most of the Old Testament. But there's something in this story of Abraham that is even more significant than this promised blessing. Back in Genesis 3, we're told how our rejection of God and our rebellion against him brought about humanity's brokenness. From Adam and Eve onwards, everyone has been born into this broken world with a broken relationship with God, including Abraham. But because he believed the Lord, Abraham's brokenness was undone.
Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness.
The word righteousness means you've got a right relationship with God. Your brokenness has been taken away. It's gone. And this sets up one of the greatest truths the Bible speaks of, that we're made right with God not by being good or by doing good, but by faith, believing God and taking him at his word. Every journey has a path you should take. Every story has a plot line to follow. Through Abraham, God shows us the path that we should take, and it's the plot line of the whole Bible. God wants us to go the way of faith, trusting in God and believing his promises.
God promises to fix our brokenness and bring about a blessing so amazing that people from every tribe and tongue and nation on the earth will be touched by it. And he's promised to do this through one of Abraham's descendants. See, God's way of fixing our brokenness and making us right with him has always been something we receive by faith, not our own effort. This was true all the way back in Abraham's day, and it is still true for you today.
So, what plot line is your life following? Are you trusting in your own life of brokenness and sin? Or are you trusting in God and his promises? Which path are you going to take?